Hey guys, welcome.
Hey.
Welcome to our podcast. So, again, we're the Malley Creek Book Study Team, and this is our first of a 5 podcast series. How about I'll start, and we can go in a circle, and we can introduce ourselves and one or two things we do outside of ROTC. So, my name is Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Brissy. I am the battalion commander here at Malley Creek G.R.E.A.T, and I play baseball and I wrestle.
My name is Aiden Wynn. I'm a cadet master sergeant. I'm the battalion S3. Two things I like to do outside of school is swim and lift weights.
Hi, my name is Cadet Zimian Forehand. I am also a captain. I am also one of the 2 S4s of our ROTC community. And 2 things I like to do in my after school would be baking or rock climbing.
I'm Cadet Morgan Bradley and First Sergeant, and I like to play volleyball and soccer outside of ROTC.
Cadet Amaya Chambers. I am a captain. I am the S1 adjutant officer of the JRTC program, and I enjoy playing soccer and marching in the band outside of RTC.
All right, very cool. Let's get into it. So let's talk a little bit about, the connection of the book. Again, Ben Carson's You Have a Brain is the book that's kind of inspiring this. Let's talk a little bit about that and how it connects to this podcast.
Right. So one of the big questions in the book is, what is thinking big?
I would say that thinking big is opening your brain up to bigger possibilities. And I would say our biggest goal of this episode would be to discuss how goals shape not only our future, but our minds.
I would also say to tag off of that, basically what thinking big could be is thinking something bigger than yourself or setting a goal. Well, we have an acronym actually, and it's G.R.E.A.T, so great. And we kind of tie that into our thinking big. And it's really just about how you set goals as yourself, you reflect on those, you have effort, and you put basically ambition and then your time. And also you're thinking about the trials and setbacks that you have within those goals.
So again, that's our acronym that we applied from the book.
Mm-hmm.
And each one of those letters is going to be an episode for this podcast.
Right.
Yep. Is there any other ways that we connected the book to our acronym? Anything that you can think off the brain? Not so much?
Well, okay, I would also say that within thinking big, so it means we have our acronym, which is talent, honesty, and then also as a ROTC unit, JROTC unit, we have a lot of those values within ourselves, especially honesty. We take that as a really big account. So thinking about how that connects to JRTC specifically, that would also be a really big part about thinking big and how we take that into ourselves.
I mean, I'm also thinking knowledge and in-depth learning, and those are all principles from Think Big. And I think that our acronym of G.R.E.A.T is going to really allow us to expand, but also put our own twist on the things that we learned from this book.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, of course. I also think that thinking big is also another way of saying look beyond the can, which is actually a big part of, was it chapter 2 of the book?
Yeah.
What the mother of Ben Carson had said, think beyond the can. Basically, think outside the box. Think outside of your brain. Find new ways to think and use your critical thinking skills.
Right. So the first part of our acronym was G, which stands for goals. So in chapter 9, Ben Carson he puts a heavy emphasis on faith. And he states that it kind of gives his goals direction, and that having a reason for pursuing success really helps motivate him. So that begs the question, how does having a clear why behind your goals keep you grounded during difficult times?
Well, I would say having a clear why, within sports or within different clubs, it's that motivation behind things. So if I'm saying, oh, why did I join the volleyball team? It's so that I can have fun with friends, get fit, different things like that. That's a motivation to help me within my life and within my team.
Right.
Right away, I hear why. Forehand. I mean, I know you were here last year on the book study team. We read a book called Start with Why. And our project last year, we really focused on the why behind one of our service learning projects. And we really went in depth with making sure every cadet knew why we were doing that project. We had presentations, we had student speakers, we had adult speakers, and we ended up producing more canned food items than we ever have. And I think that shows the power of knowing your why in an organization. But then on a personal level, what I automatically go with that question when I'm wrestling and conditioning is really hard. If I don't know why I'm there, I will just I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm just putting myself through this difficult practice for no reason. But when I stop and I remember the goals I have for the season, for myself and for my team, I remember the coaches that have supported me, the teammates that are relying on me. Like that why is the reason I'm able to keep going through a really difficult wrestling practice.
Right.
I think that just shows the power of having a reason to keep working.
Right.
You know?
A lot of people seem to be. I noticed a lot of people seem to be lost because they don't have a goal they're working towards. They don't have a sense of purpose in their life.
I like that.
I think that's a great reason or a great like point to point out since our first, like part of our acronym is goals. I have this thing where I do like this tactic where I tend to think of little Morgan. So me being Morgan, I think of what would Morgan have wanted when I was younger, these big goals that she had for herself. I think of, oh, well, she wanted to get A's and she wanted to go to this college. So I think of that motivation being little Morgan wanted this. That's my why. That's my goal.
Wow.
Right.
I like that.
Wow.
That's very insightful.
That's powerful because I was going to say the opposite. I spend a lot of time thinking of what would Big Brissy want me to do. So I have a whiteboard in my room and it has my goals for the year, it has my goal for the next 5 years.
Right.
And under that, it also has my identity. Like, it's just something I started last year. And the identity is like, who do I want to be? Like, not who have I been in the past, but who do I want to be? And so I think a lot about my future self. And I think it's really powerful thinking about your younger self because that's kind of represents the pure version of you, the character that you want to be. But then I kind of personally like to move towards where do I want to be in 5 years and what type of person will I be at that time. So it's actually really interesting you say that. That's kind of how I keep myself motivated for my goals.
Not to break the rule of threes, but I actually think of myself in the current moment.
Wow.
Okay. Which is really interesting because the R for our acronym G.R.E.A.T is reflect, and I often reflect on my my past mistakes, and I like to think about my future and apply it to my current because you can't get anywhere in the future if you don't apply it to your current self, which is my biggest why personally. If I don't actually do it rather than think about it, thinking gets you nowhere. That's why I always apply things to my current day self.
So when I hear that leads to one of the questions I was really wanting to bring up here, and I think it really applies to what Ben Carson was talking about in chapters 5 through 6 when he was specifically talking about habits and discipline and structuring his life. Because again, like you were saying, thinking about goals, making goals, that's step one. But what comes next? Are you just going to make a goal to get a specific score on ACT, SAT to get into this college? That's one thing, but then you have to figure out how can you live your life so you can actually get there.
Right.
So I think that's really powerful, and that applies to, habits. I think that's a really important thing for anyone that wants to be successful to talk about, to think about, to be knowledgeable of. Do you guys have any habits that you would say, are either keystone habits to your life, like in your morning routine, your nighttime routine, how you do homework, whether it's sports or with your family? Do you guys have any habits that you want to
Starting off, I would say a really, really big factor in my life at the moment is procrastination.
Ooh.
And the fact that can affect my entire day, like one itty bitty bit of like sitting around thinking, oh yeah, I would love to do that, but I just feel so out of it. Like it's just a bad habit because when I just think any thought of sitting around and not doing anything, it makes me feel so open to not getting anything else done throughout the day.
Right.
So I feel like procrastination is a big deal.
I would say I struggled with procrastination. I still struggle with it. But what's helped me a lot, like this year specifically, like this quarter, I have a lot of AP classes going on. I have a lot of extracurriculars and stuff. What I realized is instead of doing like, maybe I can't always, but instead of doing my homework like in my room or maybe even in my house, I go to the library like 5 hours a day.
Really?
Being able to be surrounded by other people who are doing other academic things or other things for their job, other things that I know they also have goals, like college students, doing that is like having that collective mindset. I may not study in the group, but I'm around other people that have like-minded thoughts. And so therefore being in that environment is a great habit because it's just like being able to study and do my work is like, hey, other people are on track. Why am I not? Why am I not
Right.
focused?
So you would say that the people you surround you with is very
Yep.
impactful for your
Yep.
goals.
Definitely.
Wow. Yeah, for sure.
I also have a habit I would like to mention. I used to struggle with procrastination terribly. However, I started doing this 2-minute rule that I heard off of TikTok or Pinterest or somewhere. That was, if you have something you're procrastinating about, you have to do it for like 1 or 2 or 3 minutes. And then once you get into that groove within 3 minutes, you can't get out of it. Like doing dishes, you just start for 3 minutes. All of a sudden, you've been doing it for 30 minutes. It's just, I've applied it to my everyday habits, and it's changed like tremendously for my work.
That's a great way to look at it. One habit that I personally have recently started adapting is earning my leisure. One really big problem of mine was procrastination. I never really started my work, and I always waited till last minute, and that was always a really big problem that really affected my grades. And now that I signed up for a few more classes and extracurriculars, I realized that I really have to start managing my time more effectively. So instead of say if I were to get home and just like lay on my bed, scroll on TikTok, instead of doing that, I just go straight to my work, and then once I knock that out, then I can relax. So then I don't have like a constant nagging in the back of my mind.
Yeah, going back to what Forehand says, I think this kind of applies to what you're saying as well. Like, one thing I've learned and that I really talk about a lot is motivation does not inspire action, but action inspires action. Like, the first step of not when am I excited to study, but sitting down, getting those first 10 vocab words out the way, like, that will actually get you going to do more. And I really like that. I want to kind of talk about talent and goal setting. You know, everyone here, we're all pretty smart individuals. And so I think our goals, sometimes it can be easy. Like if I'm already really successful in school, setting a goal for me to get all A's and B's, that's not really a good goal, you know? So where would you guys say the balance is in setting realistic goals, but also pushing yourselves to be better beyond just simply relying on the talents that you have been provided with?
I would say I really like to piggyback off that question. I really like the idea of where you said you had your whiteboard and you had like a this year goal and a 5-year goal. Well, there could be like a time kind of goal, like right now I'm here, and then in 2 years I plan to be here. So instead of thinking 8 years out, because that may not be realistic for you, depending on, let's say you don't know what you want to do for college, what you want to major in, something like that. But I'm a junior, so right now I'm thinking about, graduation, SAT scores, ACT, college acceptance, things like that. Thinking 2 years into the future is probably going to be better for me than thinking 8 years. So having that plan to just get 2 years, that be my goal. I want to go to Harvard University. That is my, like, what do I need to get there? Would be my attainable goal.
I love that.
Right.
Yeah, so as we run out of time a little bit here, does anyone have any closing questions or thoughts?
So one really big thing is think big has a lot of elements to be balanced. So how can we balance big goals with everyday responsibilities that sometimes can distract or discourage us?
It's a great question. Listen, it's one of those things like if we knew all the answers, we wouldn't be here. We'd be in the White House, we'd be, billionaires and all that stuff. But I think it's a lot about maintaining direction.
Right.
And I think that's what goals are really about. Like goals are setting the direction for where you want to move your life. And it's not a linear path, like there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. In high school there's going to be relationship issues, there's going to be issues at home, there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be failures. But I think goal setting is all really about just putting your life and your daily actions on that specific direction towards where you want to be.
One thing I really like doing is going back to the big goals. I like setting a really big goal for myself in the future. And it talks about everyday responsibilities. I like setting small goals that align with my my daily routine to help me achieve that big goal.
Yeah. I love
would
that.
also say taking account, like when you said the whole setbacks and the things happening at home or anything, taking into account those things, not ignoring them. If you have something that you can't do because of something you failed or something, don't say, oh, I'm going to get 105 in this class, but right now I'm at a 33. You have to take into account what you have, and then you can make that goal based off of what you're doing right now.
I love that. All right. Well, this has been awesome, guys. I thank you all for being here, and we're looking forward to the next one where we're going to be talking about reflection. which will be really exciting. But to our audience, thank you for listening, and just a reminder to be great. All right. Thanks, guys.